Welcome back to the
Uh,
show. If I said that this is take 100.
you don't know that we almost taped an entire episode, and Gwen's technology is rebelling today, and we've had multiple issues in trying to get the sound right. And so now we are back just trying to recreate what we organically already talked about, that neither of our brains work in that linear way, but we'll just do the best we can. So that's the good entry point. Instead of me telling my whole story about my sleeping ring, we can just talk about the courage to be imperfect when things aren't working in the world, because it's what's going on right now.
Dana and I were, I think there's a piece of our own personal overwhelm
Yeah.
with the world. Dana and I live in the United States. We were
Mm-hmm.
saying it is January the 27th,
Mm-hmm.
2026 today. So we are sitting with heavy hearts and
Mm-hmm.
uh dread. I don't know. I don't even know what else to
Mm-hmm.
say. Um,
Ooh,
yeah.
that makes me think sort of what we were talking about. The theme was when we as therapists can't offer the best solution. So I have a lot of clients the last year saying, I feel so helpless. What can I do? And I can bring up things that you can do. My wife and I were talking about this last night. So, and to not judge what people do. So some people can get out there at a moment's notice and march. Great. Some people can do things specifically for folks that they know are going through these things, like bring food or donate to a shelter, those kinds of things. It's hard for me to do that kind of marching because it involves a lot of walking for my body. So I routinely send money to the ACLU to help people with legal help, right?
Mhm.
So can we find things that you can do? So that, but it's not meant to like fix it. It doesn't take away what's going on, but we put it in that frame of in feeling so helpless and feeling so small that you can't afford big change by yourself. What can you do to at least get a little nugget of that, knowing that you're going to feel undone the rest of it, right? And if I think about just therapy that doesn't involve what we're going through collectively, there's much more focus on, there's much more sort of precision and control, if you will, in digging into a layer. And the whole idea is you don't want to leave someone open and undone too much, but we can't avoid it anymore, right? Those things are ongoing. There's repetitive traumas that are happening and so on. It seems like weekly. And then the other big piece for me is that I have the hardest time with, and I think my autistic neurodivergent clients have the hardest time with, is there's so many things that are double standard, and there's so many things that do not make sense. And this idea of what's legal, what is our democracy set up to do? This person did XYZ that should be illegal. Why is this being allowed to happen? And for me, the bigger frame was when I realized and found out that there are a ton of people working on legal processes to stop X, Y, and Z, but those wheels move more slowly, right? And so you find this trickle of things coming out that you may not be even see in the news because they're pushed way down because of all of the just constant trauma that we're going through. Case in point, yesterday, 2 days ago, I think it was, the administration ran out of their last appeal to force schools and other workplaces to get rid of DEI. I don't know if you knew that. That happened 3 days ago, I think. That's huge. That is huge news, right? So, all these schools that lost funding and researchers that lost funding and all of that happened, now they have to reverse, right? They lost all those appeals, and that's taken a year. They put that stuff in
Hmm.
place when Trump was first put into office. So that's hard, right? That's hard when you have something that's really distressing that may be affecting your immediate life, depending on where you live and what group you belong to, and whether you're a target or not, and whether you know people who are targets or not, and those sorts of things. That's not instant gratification, and and how do you stay yoked into the news, for example, without it being overwhelming? So we can do all those things in therapy, but at the same token, it's sort of like the pandemic. We were going through those things too. We don't want to share our inner world and process with you. That would be completely inappropriate. But we also want to let you know, yeah, this is messed up. And actually, we're going through it too. And it's crazy, right? And how do we find a place to unpack that in a therapeutic way and also let you see that we're like, this is messed up, right? This is crazy. And be able to get in and figure out those, to articulate the points of what it makes it so hard, right? That yes, it says in the Constitution that if you're on the soil here, you have legal rights, you should be read Miranda rights, you can't be detained, and yet here it's happening, right? So that sense of, yeah, or the double standards that exist, the most recent thing in Minnesota, when folks first came out and said, well, he was carrying a weapon. I'm like, oh my God, the double standard, right? Kyle Rittenhouse, anybody, where he had a automatic gun out in the open in Wisconsin and killed people? Where's the double standard here? So there's that sense of just maddeningness of it, right? And wondering if that slow legal process, for example, is actually going to catch up and do anything about it. How do I instill hope when I'm feeling hopeless, right? Or do I just as a therapist say, yeah, you're right. This is messed up. You know, I don't necessarily have to say we're doomed, nothing's going to happen, pandemonium's going to break out, which is one of my timelines of what what could happen.
Hmm.
I'm not going to
For
say that,
sure. For
right?
sure.
But I'm going to
Hmm.
say, hopefully, and maybe even share like that Department of Ed thing. Like that's a win. That's a huge win. And so it's taken a year to get there. And then we're starting to see little nuggets of that the resistance is helping legally, administration wise, and all that. And I'm just like, as a therapist, I'm like, oh my God, please give us some wins so we can at least our clients some hope in that we're not completely helpless, right? With the pandemic, it was really hard too because we didn't know if and when a vaccine would come out. We didn't know if and when we might get sick or our clients might get sick or die. I mean, and then now you've got the wildfires like for you and people that are around you. We have been going through
Oh yeah.
hell in the
Yeah.
last 4 years. It's
Oh yeah.
insane. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I will say, like, even up here, our battles have not ended with Edison
Yeah.
because they now um are digging up our yards to put
Yeah.
things underground without
Oh,
permission
yeah.
because there's a 10-foot easement from the street. So
Wow.
and my street just literally launched a it's like they were on the news. I mean, like, there are different movers and
Wow.
shakers, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, like, therapeutically, as what is that line
Hmm.
for us as therapists? And clearly this is very reflective of who we are as people
Yeah.
first, and
Hmm.
then who we are as therapists and how we practice, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Because I have found that and I only see neurodivergent clients.
Yeah.
I have found that the community that I serve and support need more information from me than a blank
Yeah.
slate. They
Yes.
actually don't really know what to do when I don't have anything. And mind
Yeah.
you, the clients that I work with that don't want to have anything to do with me,
Hmm.
I find that I'm
It's
really
hard.
just a container. It's more of
Yeah.
a neutral container for something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but the how personal you get, how neutral you are, how like
Hmm.
those are ebbing and flowing, and those are like clinical decisions that we're making session by session, sometimes
Yeah.
within a session. If I step back and I observe myself as a therapist, um, I definitely look different across my
Mhm.
sessions,
Mhm.
across the different people that I
Yeah,
support.
yeah.
But there are mistakes. I definitely make mistakes, and I think
Mhm,
about those, and
mhm,
sometimes I don't always realize them, and then sometimes I do, right?
mhm.
And the best thing I can do is come back to the session and apologize to a client.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
you know what? I just realized, as I was thinking about the session, I was thinking about you,
Mhm.
and I just want to say, like, that was too disclosive. Like that
Mhm,
I'm
mhm.
sorry if that made you uncomfortable, or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so really, really owning that. But I think, it is really, really difficult to kind of be in this work where we are especially for us advocating for neurodivergent people and the neurodivergent community,
Mhm.
and then to have all of this happening in the
Yeah. Oh,
world,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, God, yeah,
It's hard
yeah,
not to get upset and
yeah.
impassioned, and not say something in session. And I
Mhm.
find that I actually probably struggle as a therapist when I am supporting someone that probably isn't aligned
Oh,
with
yeah, yeah, yeah,
what's
yeah,
happening today, where they're
yeah,
like, this is
yeah,
BS, like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and that is really like, I really need to suspend myself and
Mhm.
create the space, which I really try to do. And I don't always do that successfully. Not that I get
No.
into a political battle, or um I'm not trying to defend a political position in
Right, right,
session
right,
at
right, right.
all. That's
Yeah,
not the
yeah,
place
yeah,
for it. But that I find, like, I really need to compartmentalize that
yeah,
piece,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, we're trying to constantly find frames that are
Mhm.
holding of that as well. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and making mistakes. Like, as
Mhm.
a therapist and as a person, I do make mistakes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. So
Well,
I
and it's
hope that
not
I
always,
have, yeah,
yeah, yeah, and it's not always just like what we're saying. It's, you're seeing us and have reactions and things like that. I'll have that with students or clients will say something that I think is like, oh my God, I can't believe that person you're talking about said that, and I'll just be like, oh my God. And that, that's my way of validating what they've just said too, right? So there's sort of within that container, there's overt mistakes if those are made and how we handle them. So we want to model bringing it back and owning it, that kind of thing. I had a therapist of mine here fall asleep on me once when I was trying that psychoanalytic work, and she came back the next week. I asked her about it, and she profusely apologized. She said she was starting to feel sick and get a fever. She probably shouldn't have seen me. She gave me the session for free. And I was like, okay, that's cool. It's fine. The rupture is okay now. And now I understand, but I'm like, wow, okay. Right. It happens.
yeah,
But yeah, that sense of, I always tell my students this too. It isn't, and I used to hear this from one of my mentors, therapy isn't a destination. It's a
yeah,
process, right?
yeah,
And so the work is being in that process. It's not saying, oh, I know exactly where we're going to go from A to Z and I know all the steps between. We don't. It's let's walk along that journey with you and see what we find and see if we can provide some relief or some help or some framing. And I do think, like you said, with neurodivergent clients particularly, that we have such a strong sense of justice and what's right or wrong, that
yeah,
this is really tweaking that in
yeah,
a major way, right? So people
yeah.
are coming in already, their buckets are massively full. Um, I don't know if this is true for you, but I've had folks that have really aren't equipped right now to be working on a lot of deep stuff because it's all out here. It's too much, right? If I say, "Oh, let's talk about your mother right now," oh no, 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 they're barely making it from day to day
Uh,
with what's going on,
oh
right?
yeah, I mean, the strategy of choice recently, especially as
Mm-hmm.
we, have come over a year here. And these are, again,
Yeah,
for the clients that are upset or
yeah,
bothered or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
disturbed
If they're
by this
not, it's yeah,
administration. Because if they're
yeah,
not, like, they're not, right?
right, exactly. Yeah,
Um the strategy of choice has been distraction.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I and
yeah,
that is not necessarily the strongest strategy that it is a tool in the tool
yeah,
belt.
yeah,
It is an arrow in the quiver.
yeah,
That is something that we can rely on, but it's not the one that we want to rely on all the time.
right.
But they just don't have the bandwidth for any kind of
Mhm.
processing. And so it really is,
Mhm.
how do I cope
Yeah,
with the thing that I do not feel like I control? And
right,
we've spoken
exactly.
about that, in previous episodes, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Focusing on what you can control. And I
Yeah,
do think, like, right now, what does therapy provide? Therapy is not a quick fix. That is for darn sure.
right.
Anyone that tells you differently or says, you're going to be quote unquote cured in 12 sessions is
Yeah,
lying to
yep.
you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And I get it. Like, I get, like, some people might just come into the therapeutic work to get some coping skills, like learn some
yeah,
coping skills and then to
yeah,
leave. Like,
yeah.
that's
I hit a
that's
bump,
not
can you help me figure yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
not typically the client that I'm supporting.
Right,
I'm
right.
typically supporting a client with quite a bit of trauma,
Yeah, yeah.
a lot of so anyway, complex trauma, especially, over their
Mhm,
life.
mhm,
And so, but it is a place in which we can, one, provide a frame, two, provide consistent, reliable place to safely see yourself,
mhm,
safely explore your thoughts about the world or about
mhm,
yourself, and then to help with some strategies to meet the world as it is.
mhm, mhm. Right, right.
So,
Yep.
yeah, and what's one of the complaints my clients will say? Well, that grounding strategy worked for about 2.5 minutes, and it's like, it's not meant to be for, right? Like, it's meant to put
Yeah,
a pause on things so that you don't get so dysregulated and overwhelmed.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
So, but
Yeah,
yeah, like, therapists, we're human and we
yeah,
don't have all the answers. And
right.
this kind of goes back to uh our fix it idea. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't come into therapy to get fixed.
yeah.
You also don't come into therapy to have your depression completely go away forever. Like, it
Right,
just
right.
doesn't work
No,
that way.
that's right. Yeah.
Well, that's the way I've been practicing. Maybe there's
No,
something we
yeah, I
don't
mean,
know, Dana.
I talk about that too. I said, there are some depressions that are um, you can work on, take a medication for it can be helped. Anxiety is the one I always focus on. It's just not realistic for a neurodivergent person to be completely free of anxiety as a goal. It's just not
Yeah,
realistic. So how do
yeah,
we then frame that and give tools so that you can manage that? And sometimes just knowing that. I've had people going into scenarios that I'll say it's normal to be anxious. Like when my students are starting to do a presentation in class, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so nervous," and I say, "You know what? That's normal. It's totally no judgment here. Take your time. And if your hands are shaking, I'm not going to sit here and judge you because your hands are shaking."
yeah,
And just saying that, they're like, "Oh, okay." So it really is that there's sort of that teaching of tolerance and inoculation of what can you do. And I remember in my own therapy really judging myself for that. Like if I was going somewhere and I was anxious about it, I would notice I kept getting kind of dizzy because I forgot to breathe and being, what's wrong with me? I need to, what can, when I got to
mm,
the point where I'm like, it's okay to just say, this is how your nervous system is responding and just be gentle with yourself. It's okay. Right.
yeah,
That's a different frame than what's wrong with me because I can't relax. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yep.
Absolutely,
Cool.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yep.
Well, we hope that, I don't really know. I feel
How
so
to,
overwhelmed by everything that
we can end it with, we don't have an answer or even
we
really
don't
a
have the
good way to end
answers.
this episode.
Yeah, no. Maybe that's normalizing for you.
There you go. Yeah.
Because we
Yeah.
don't. I think
Hmm.
Dana and I, this being our umpteenth time that we've taped this particular episode, we still have a lot to say about it, I guess. I don't know.
Right, exactly. Good point. Yeah, more focused maybe. Yeah. Oh, good.
All right, everyone. Be good to you, be good to others, and we will catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.